About the current world situation or about real estate? Or are they one and the same?
Yeah, no. So we're going to cover both. So our theme for tonight is both. We will talk some about the current landscape and how people are navigating it, but then we're also going to talk about creative landlording solutions that our esteemed panelists have navigated through.
Yeah, well, I've been a VRBO owner for the last couple of years, and that's really something I like doing, but my wife won't let me get a second place, so I'm stuck at one because she's that intimately involved with the first place. And so I did buy a sheriff property back in January and have a renter in there, and that's going well. The guy seems to be paying. He seems to need to pay twice a month, but that's okay, I guess. I'm going through a property manager, and looking for another place when things open up again, maybe do another sheriff sale or something like that. So, yeah.
I heard a good question there from Mr. Williamson. The question I heard that wasn't actually asked was, how do I get out of the day-to-day of dealing with my Airbnb? Now, don't say it yet, Al. Just hold on. I knew you were about to start talking. You just hold on. You wait till we get this thing rolling. We're gonna get rolling here in 2 minutes. But Terry, thanks for your question.
I'm looking forward to what Al has to say on that, because I mean, as far as creativity goes, there's no holds barred. Like, we're in uncharted waters, so whatever you can conjure, go for it. If they need to pay twice a month and you're getting made whole, I'd say that's a lot better than going, a few months per, I'm not sure if this is a screen name, Schwerby? His question is, what do we do if renters don't pay with the COVID exemption and we never get paid? So if you can get them to pay something, being very clear that paying nothing is not an option. But creativity is key, and that's why I'm glad to be on jamming with you guys, because I want to learn something too, and I'm sure I'm gonna.
Well, Terry's taking a call, but Terry isn't paying twice a week or once every 2 weeks a good thing? You end up with an extra rent payment at the end of the year. It's a good thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you come up with you make more money annually.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a fact. Yeah.
Well, they divided it in half, and they're paying.
That's fine.
They're paying half of it.
Al, don't share the golden nugget yet. You just wait. I know that's one of your little tricks. I'm going to let you talk about that. Your little pay every 2 week trick where you get an extra payment.
Well, you know, I stole that, right?
Well, hey, you look. No one says you got to create the rules.
That's right.
So this is actually better for me, and I'm going to hear why, huh?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great idea.
One of my buddies wrote a book, Copy Your Way to Success.
Oh man, Paul's all fired up over there.
Yeah.
He's all fired up.
What's going on with Paul? What you want, Paul?
Yeah, Paul, what do you want?
What kind of coffee you got?
I just got all 3 inspections scheduled for tomorrow, which means I can move my tenant in there on Monday, which is kind of huge.
Inspections?
They're doing inspections these days? That sounds like a big
Section 8 inspections?
No, city inspections.
That's pretty. That's a lot of these cities aren't doing inspections right now. That's great. I guess Paul's got some inside hookups.
I did my inspection on FaceTime, just my camera.
No kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's like right on. Send me that email.
The bean counters are willing to do that, but I guess they don't want to be out and get exposed either. So
yeah,
very cool.
All right, let's rock and roll. Let me get organized here. Let's see. I want to share my screen. All right, so yeah, these are Real Estate Hackers virtual meetups. I'm Chad Gallagher, the host here. For those of you that don't know, We run about, I'd say, 7 or 8 different meetups, usually in person, kind of across the Mid-Atlantic. You can find out more info about all of that at realestatehackers.com. It's our cool little logo. We were going to hold the first ever Real Estate Hackers Conference, which I was super pumped for. That was going to be in April, and then this whole virus thing happened, and someone said, Chad, you can't hold a 700-person conference right now. So that's on hold, but it's going to be coming. So in the meantime, we decided to take the whole show virtual. We did our first one of these 2 weeks ago, and it was interesting. I said to send us comments and feedback, and the feedback was actually better than our normal meetup feedback. People seemed to really enjoy it. So we said, what the heck, let's do another one. So the plan is to actually do more of these and get more organized and get smarter people than me figuring out how to get the word out. So we're up on all sorts of different social media channels now and getting things rolling. I'm super excited. Rules of the road here is there is a cool little chat bar. If you want to throw your questions and comments into that chat bar throughout, that's great and super helpful for creating interesting kind of commentary as we go. I've had to guess it'll be about an hour, but we'll kind of see how it goes. And we do post these things into the Real Estate Hackers YouTube channel. If you missed the one from last time, 2 weeks ago, we actually have that posted in there, and we'll continue to fill that up. So yeah, thanks for joining. Goal will be every 2 weeks of these, and we'll kind of see how they go. Really quick, partners, before we kind of get into the meat of this meetup. If you guys are in real estate investing and haven't talked to Ryan at Red Rabbit Insurance, I highly recommend it. We met Ryan about 1.5 years ago. He saved me personally probably about $5,000 a year, seriously, in moving our insurance. He's focusing specifically on working with investors. So tons of awesome products, really understands the landscape, works with 40 different carriers, and I don't go a week without someone seeing me, giving me a big hug and saying, thanks for introducing me to Ryan. So I wish they were that happy to see me all the time. So it's Ryan at redrabbitinsurance.com if you're interested in kind of getting a quote. And they're actually doing quotes now. So no change in the kind of current COVID climate. And then last thing here, I started a private management company called Slate House. We cover the Mid-Atlantic, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Manage about 4,000 units, and also have some agents that help investors buy real estate. I want to just tell a quick story about a real estate property that we bought before we get into the kind of the main show here. So we do own a portfolio, and one of the things I've been really pushing people in this kind of current climate is I think B-class housing more than ever makes a ton of sense. We actually hadn't bought a property in over probably 1.5 years, and we bought our first property in 1.5 years, got under contract, and it's one of those boring properties. $110,000 single family home, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, B-class. But we did it. One, we feel really good that's going to work. It's going to rent for $1,100. We were actually able to get an agreement for a little under $100K. We got buy it in cash, fix up the flooring, and then refi it. But we're going to do something that's a little different. We've been buying in LLCs recently, as we bought some more multifamily stuff. But we're actually going to buy this in our own name, and something that I definitely believe in is not necessarily buying everything in an LLC. And I know this is very, it's a tricky topic and there are different people have different feelings on it. But for us, by buying this in our own name, we're able to lock in a 30-year loan at probably about a 3.5% interest rate. And so as you just think about inflation, as that rent goes up with inflation over the next 30 years, this thing's going to be cash flowing a lot more in years 20, 25, 30 than it will today. And so we're able to kind of use inflation to our benefit, lock in that 3.5% loan. And again, it's a boring deal, but do not think you have to do the 500 unit multifamily deal to be a successful investor. And I think right now it's gonna be a lot of small deals where people just need some cash, and that's what this was. So That's my kind of quick story to get started. Tonight's topic is creative landlording. I am super pumped, even more than normal. We have some awesome guests. Let's get to them. First, from Virginia, hailing from the Hampton Roads area now, used to live in Baltimore and in other areas before. Phil Capron, awesome multifamily investor, doing all sorts of creative stuff. Phil, thanks for joining us here.
Hey, Chad, thanks for having me. Very stoked to be here and to collaborate and learn and, share kind of some hard lessons and some strategies that we've employed over the last few years.
Awesome. And then coming from the other coast, this being California, I believe, Al, you're still coming out of Sacramento. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're never wrong.
Oh, there you go. And I'll tell you a funny story about Al. So Al has this thing, maybe he'll talk about it, the green goblin. Am I saying that right?
Gobbler.
Gobbler. And I had him on the podcast about a year ago, and he's going on and on about this green gobbler thing. I've never heard of it before. But sure enough, I meet another person from Sacramento who's an investor. And this is like 9 months later. And we're talking about just random things, around like 20 minutes about his investing and stuff. And wouldn't you know it, in the conversation, he brings up the same green gobbler goo that Al Williamson has made famous by talking about it to all of his guests across his different, and I said, this is not a coincidence, it's someone else from Sacramento. And I said, did you get that from Al? And he said, you know Al. So the landlord scientist, thanks for joining, Al. Tons of creative ideas and kind of bringing all sorts of great stuff to the table here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for the flowers and chocolates.
That wasn't from me, Al. That wasn't from me. All right. So, cool. And I said it before, but just a reminder, we are using the group chat to the side, which is great for both asking questions that may come up and also just creating dialogue as we roll through here. So, cool. My first question for the group, I guess, is let's just start with, obviously top of mind to a lot of people is COVID and everything going on with COVID. Al, I'll start with you actually. And when you think about what's going on right now, I guess my first question is, how are you spending the majority of your time on a weekly basis with everything going on right now?
Well, I run furnished rentals, as some of you may know. So most of the time, really not much to do. What's funny is in the hospitality industry, the hotels have really taken it on the chin, almost 80% down. What's going on? Because business travel is just out, but extended stays, which is my focus, is more popular than ever. So let's see, I'm down to one vacancy that just happened, but otherwise I'm fully occupied and nothing to do. I'm just working on my side projects, which is helping other people fill their units, things like that.
So Al, let's pause there. So you're saying, you run a bunch of short-term housing, and you are saying that you are not seeing the vacancy really hit your units, and your rent collection looks pretty normal. You wouldn't even know anything's going on right now.
I did lower my prices.
Okay.
Just because anyone going anywhere now is bargain shopping, right? None of us is going to pay full price for anything right now.
When you say lower, what are we talking? 10%?
Lower my rents.
No, I know.
Yeah, about 10% sometimes. And I made a decision earlier on, before the seriousness of it came out, was my planning scenario was that it was serious and that people will wake up later. Whether I was right or wrong, I decided I was going to take a 10% haircut and go after the best extended stay travelers I could find. So that's the method I used, and so on that side is boring because I'm full, but on the other side I've been looking at, well, what's the new era going to look like? Because things are going to change. Just like they did after SARS and 9/11, there's going to be new policies, new expectations. So I decided, hey, let me get out there and see what's going to be the new norms. Let me start investigating in case Chad calls me.
So what have you? I guess let's go to Phil first. I want to pause you there. And I do. There was a quick question of short-term housing. How long that is? Is this mostly week stays, day to day? How do you?
Well, I call 30 days and longer. Push you into that month-to-month landlord category. That's my focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like traveling nurses and stuff like that.
That's right. There's a lot of healthcare professionals moving about right now, and also people. Construction is still going. Big
For sure.
construction hasn't stopped. So, people say, well,
Are there any other really good niches like for other folks that are doing STRs to maybe lock in a little bit of a longer? So construction, healthcare.
I don't, Chad. Can I have a minute to answer this question?
Absolutely. You don't even need to ask. You just go.
Can I take over? Can I take over the screen?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so right here is
oh boy, here we go. Look at this.
So here's 7 target audiences that are needed right now. We got there's people who just want to take care of their elderly, so they want to isolate them, get them out of a nursing home, things like that. So there's lots of opportunities there. People who want to shelter, and just putting that this is a safe house. Just a for rent sign with the fact that it's for people wanting to isolate in front of your house. You can get that booked up. Just your neighbors seeing that because they got people that they know of. The long-term furnished rentals are still going strong. People who need to relocate, who are moving to your town, they got what are their options? Their options are a hotel or extended stay rental. So healthcare professionals, absolutely. And then there's people in your direct network. I always encourage people to hop on their own personal Facebook page and offer $100 referral fee for anyone who comes out. You'll shake out a lot of people that way, and that $100 will get you into their extended network, which is really a critical thing. As that whole 6 degrees of separation. If you do run a short-term rental or right now or Airbnb and it's vacant, I want you just to walk away from this knowing or with the thought that you already know a person who knows a person who could put it in there. All you have to do is open your mouth and get the word out. And then last, people who are currently staying at extended stay hotels, you can market to them through some geofencing on Facebook and get them over too. So there is a huge need. There's just different audiences. There's still people who need furnished rentals. It's still as strong as ever. It's just a different audience. It's not just business travelers now. They're not the low-hanging fruit anymore because no one's traveling unless they absolutely have to travel.
I love that.
I'll give you the screen back.
Yeah, that'd be great. One thing that I have seen that's really interesting is our rent, our number of vacant units is about 50% of what it was in January, company-wide. Now, obviously, there's that doesn't necessarily mean rent collection is, so much higher because because of no evictions. We're seeing some folks, slightly higher number of folks who aren't paying rent, and we can't push through the eviction process. But that's pretty staggering number of just how depleted the supply is right now. And and we manage 4,000 units, so that's a big enough swath. And I think that's somewhat indicative of the entire universe. And I think that's actually happening in not just the rental universe. It's not just the short-term housing. I think it's also playing out in the kind of real estate purchasing side too. So all these places are low supply. So even though demand has decreased, we're still seeing low vacancies, which is really interesting. Phil, let's jump to you. How are you spending your time in this COVID era?
Well, spending my time recovering for one. the building that I just bought, the seller was good enough to give me have an additional item convey at the least, turnover and stuff post closing. She just returned from New Orleans and gave it to me. So it was pretty miserable. I'm a little past a month now, and I still have the respiratory issues. Some weird body pain. It's just like you can't really explain it.
Jeez.
So
I didn't even know that.
yeah. So yeah, she not to make this story too much longer, but if we would have closed as scheduled March 6th, she wouldn't have been in New Orleans then.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy.
But because of our bank, their insurance requirement, they had one item that wasn't checked off, so we had to delay closing to the 17th. She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take a trip to one of the hot spots," and so I was like, "Oh, you want to help me do some stuff like vendor turnover and just all the little stuff in the office." So we spent the few days after closing together in the office, just hanging out, the two of us, and she winds up in the hospital, and I get super, super sick, and yeah. So anyway, that's how I've been spending. But I guess I can go into this briefly, and we can dive into it more later. We closed on a 104 unit building March 17th. Chad's managing it. We're killing it. April's collections were amazing. I attribute that to the systems that Slate House has in place to follow up with tenants and serve residents, but also our gem is our leasing agent, who just has this rapport with people and this way of dealing with them that, like, no matter what the conversation is, no matter how difficult it is, they leave feeling like they've won, even if they're making weekly payments or whatever. So like our collections for April were what, mid 90s, something like that, low 90s.
It was high.
Yeah.
And Phil, just to kind of give people a frame of reference here, I mean, I would call this like B minus.
Yeah, B minus, C plus. Okay. It's so Hampton Roads, Virginia. It's a military market. Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Newport News, Williamsburg, Hampton. So there's a big military Navy presence in a lot of industry that supports that. So a lot of our residents, they're just very blue collar. They're working at the shipyard. They're working at trade, road construction. The food industry, obviously they're hurting. And there's a certain population that's just retired. So yeah, I mean, C plus, I'd say, is a fair assessment.
Cool. So, so collections have looked good. And I believe you got, when you took over, it had about 10 vacant units that are getting kind of turned one by one and rented out. I mean, we're still seeing good rental demand there.
Yeah. So we're a month in, and we've completed construction on 7. 3 we were able to release because they had already been renovated by the previous owner to a certain level. We just did a clean, added a couple things like ceiling fans, and then leased them back out at pro forma. And then we've completed construction on another 7, 3 of which are leased. So yeah, we've got 4 right now that are still in some phase of construction or getting good quality photographs and video, so you guys can market us.
I know this isn't your first multifamily. Can you just talk about anything that's maybe different this time, us being in the COVID kind of time frame, things that maybe you're doing a little differently that you wouldn't normally do?
Flexibility. We had pre-COVID, I'd say, a lot of leverage that if people weren't going to pay, the consequences were, all right, see ya. But now, like Al said, or the gentleman before, they're paying every 2 weeks, or they're paying weekly, or we're allowing them to accrue a little bit of a balance, or we're using their security deposit, or I'm not an attorney, I'm not offering financial advice here or whatever. I haven't heard anyone else talking about this, so I believe I've coined the term of refinancing a lease. So we've got one person that both husband and wife were laid off, food service and I can't remember what the other partner does, but both of them are off for severely cut hours. They didn't file taxes in 18 or 19, so they didn't get their stimulus. So let me back up a little bit and say one thing that's changed is we're now swooping in and saying, let's walk you through the process to file your taxes, to get your stimulus, to file for unemployment. That's weird. Like, we probably wouldn't have done that in the past. We would have just said, okay, you know, see ya, and we'll, you know, file our judgment and deal with whoever comes in next. But now we're really trying to make sure they have every resource from the government side, from the non-governmental organization side. I mean, you know, the Catholic charities, the local, you know, charitable organizations, a lot of them are bridging the gap and will help people that are qualified for some short-term assistance. So bringing that back to the original point is they're behind 2 months. They're in an apartment that unrenovated is $835. Our renovated pro forma is $925 to $950. They're back 2 months, so they owe us, what's that? It's just under $1,700. What I said to them is, well, first off, they owed the seller 1 month, and then they owe me 1 month. So I don't really care what they owe the seller. So I'm only worried about the $835 they owe me. So my proposal is, hey, look, we'll help you with your taxes. We'll help you with your stimulus. Take the month of May off, and starting June 1, we're going to refinance your lease. But like, they have to ask for this. Like, we can't propose it. So we're going to refinance their lease at $925 or $950, which is pro forma, without turning the unit. So without spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. They're nice, hardworking, good people. They want to stay in place. So if we go to the $925 or the $950, next year we can kind of leave them there or go up like $10 or something, and we're at pro forma without spending that pro forma money. So refinancing leases, that's something that I'm doing in my reposition projects right now at the tenant's discretion, or the tenant's request, I should say.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And how is that received from that tenant?
They're stoked. They don't want to leave. And that's another thing that I think a lot of folks are gun shy on right now. Another building that Chad's company manages for us, it's a 20-plex. We bought it with rents in place of like $525, $550, pretty low, just slumlord owned it before us. And we figured we'd go in and do our typical turn, which is going to be really nice, and get $750 for the 1 bedroom afterwards. And, you know, our business plan was to get access to a lot of these units. So, you know, we were trying to figure out a plan of how do we get access to about 10 of 20, keep some income rolling in, but then also have about half the complex to renovate the units, as well as all the siding, you know, new asphalt, new roof, new landscaping. You know, it's going to look like, you know, a totally different thing from the outside. So, you know, we came up with a plan, you know, your local leasing agent, that we'd raise to $725, because the leases in place were also month to month, which was a benefit. We'd raise them from $525 or $550 to $725, and that should get us at least the 10 vacancies we're looking for. 14 of them signed year leases at $725. So guys, people don't want to move. I'm not proposing that you just gouge right now, but if you're buying value like we do, and repositioning and value add is part of your strategy, like, if you're still within the realm of market rate, people don't want to move. And I don't know if they don't want to move more because of COVID, or if that's just, you know, the pain in the neck to find a new place. And then once they start searching, they realize that for a 1 bedroom in this submarket, $750 is actually what it should be.
Al, can you were telling us a little bit ahead of time. I want you to kind of explain how you propose for some of your tenants who are maybe somewhat living more week to week, could pay every other week, and explain kind of the math on that.
Okay, let me work that. So a lot of people, well, the phrase is payday rent. It's because the rents get paid the person gets paid every other week. So if you make half the rent due every other week, it seems bad until you realize that some months have 5 weeks and some months have 4 weeks in them. And as it turns out, four months of the year have 5 weeks in there. So you end up with an extra 4 weeks at the end of the year, if that makes any sense to you guys. Which means if you're collecting rent every 2 weeks, you're going to end up with 2 extra rent payments per year. So that's what's good about it. When you look at your annual collections, you're going to end up with you're turning 12 payments into 13.
Al, have you seen? We haven't ever tried this. Have you seen a positive reception from some folks when you kind of proposed this?
Yeah, but I had one person on it. Again, my portfolio is nothing like Phil's. I have a smaller one. So I had one person over, and lots of other people have told me about stories of this happening. And it goes right along with our human nature, our human desire. Like we take our mortgage, even though we know the whole thing's going to cost us a lot more for our homes, and they break it up for us, and we're like, okay, we'll do it as long as it's manageable for us. That's the key. So that's just one strategy that you can always keep in your pocket. I like that, and I might still Phil's refinancing lease. If you can put those together, you got a great situation.
If you're going for a refinance with the bank, it's all about getting the net operating income up. So even though I don't make any money off that refinance, I don't make any money if I'm not having to turn the unit, and we're getting up to that pro forma. So then the following year's, renewal is like, okay, we're already here. That's a good thing. So I just wrote that down. So Chad, I got a question for you.
Geez, here we go. It always comes back to me.
How would that work? Al, I'm assuming that because you're under
more work for Chad.
Exactly. Ledgers, you know what I mean? Having all this money flying in all different times of the month is across a lot of units can be complicated.
Yeah. Okay, so on to the next question.
Do you charge the folks a late fee, or because they're on that every 2 week agreement, it's just it is what it is? So you say, hey, we won't charge you a late fee.
Now remember, I currently I'm not using it, but people who are there, you can just use a auto draft. Banks do that. There are services as well that will do those type of collections for you, but it's almost there's so many ways to do.
Call me on FaceTime. That's why.
There's so many ways now to do a collection every 2 weeks that you don't have to. That there's no reason Chad can't do that now.
Hear that, Chad?
No reason. This is great. So I will say this from a property management perspective, and I won't get into too many details because we haven't done this yet, but look, I think in most things you can do. The only side comment I want to make is one thing I've learned from kind of scaling up is there is a lot of value in simplicity, right? And I'm not trying to say there's not value in that program. I think it sounds really interesting, but there's also a ton of value in rent being due in the first. And I'll just give an interesting story on this one. We bought a building that had 15 units one time, and I asked for the leases, and the way the leases were worked out, everyone's rent was actually due on a different day of the week. And so it was like 14 units. And so he was actually having tenants pay every 2 weeks as well, but it was scattered. And I said, like, why the heck is it done this way? And his answer was, well, it's great. Every day there's rent coming in. I was like, that's not quite how my brain works. And so I guess what I'll just say is, just the counterpoint to kind of everything that we talk about today is I think there's certain tactics that work well on a small level and can allow you to optimize rent. And there's other things that work better when you're trying to really systemize things and do things the same way every time. And by the way, I don't actually think there's just one size fits all. So I think that you can use both of those strategies across everything you do in investing. And sometimes it makes sense to get more niche and do things a certain way because the upside's there. And other times, you're willing to kind of give up some of those, for the simplicity of just rent's due in the first, keep it really simple. But I also, and the last thing I'll say on this is just tech has made things a heck of a lot easier to systematize stuff that even before was more difficult to systematize. So I want to jump to another topic here, and that is just finding tenants. I saw a comment on the rail here about, are you able to find tenants? I know I have some thoughts on this. We've actually been shocked at our leasing and how many leases we've done. Our leasing, just as a quick data point, I know people love data, is it's down about 25% from our normal leasing, which sounds like a lot, but I think that given everything going on, I think that's actually not that crazy of a number being down. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how are you guys attempting to find new tenants? And Al, I know you talked about kind of going after certain niches, but even from just a more basic standpoint of, in most places you can't do kind of showings in person. Do you have like videos recorded of each unit, and Al, I guess we'll start with you and then maybe jump to Phil of how you're thinking about doing leasing in this kind of COVID era.
There's a couple of tricks I'm going to share with you. One is I do video. I always do a video walkthrough and I throw it up on YouTube. So I always have that in my pocket. And then I create something. Google has something called Sites, Google Sites. Have you heard of that, Chad?
No.
It's a simple, free. If you have a Gmail account, then you have you can pull together really simple websites very quickly, and they integrate to YouTube. Very, very easy drag and drop. If you can do something in Word, whatever you can do in Word, Microsoft Word, you can create a website now. So I embed a walkthrough video and I answer all the questions, and I even put instructions on how to use the air conditioner. I use the product manual. I link right to it. So that keeps the showings down. I have digital locks, so I want people to check out the video. If they're interested further, then they can use an access code to go into there. So that's one thing that keeps me from having to do it in person. And let me add to let me share the second thing is coming from the extended stay furnished rental universe. I was hitting one sticking point with this one unit, and I realized that all my sales copy or all my descriptions in there were kind of pre-COVID. They were like, oh, the great restaurants and everything I was bragging about. Well, they're all closed now. So just the wake up that, hey, even how I describe my units, I got to change that because I'm stuck in this pre-COVID thinking. So what I did is it's allergy season here in Sacramento, California. So I changed it to, purified air unit and talk about allergy relief, and I talk about air purifiers that I'm going, and I talk about how we're using ozone treatment before a person walks in. So one day of that, and I got 2 inquiries that I'm chasing down right now. So where I was stuck before doing things that repeating things that wasn't working. I was wondering why I was stuck. Is because I wasn't waking up to the fact, even though I'm the landlord scientist, I wasn't waking up to the fact I need to try something different.
That's awesome.
Because things have changed.
Phil, I know you've had good leasing success. Do you want to talk about some of the things we're doing down there in Virginia that's a little bit different maybe than what we would have done kind of pre-COVID?
Sure. So we're having a nice little conversation here on the bar, about like how do you determine rent increases, when to increase, when to not, and how does that all work? And it's so subjective. I answered it with my attorney's favorite answer. It depends, right? There's so many factors. Does a unit have dedicated parking? Is it unrenovated, like classic style? Is it partially renovated? Is it fully renovated with stainless steel? Does it have a view? Is it on a corner with additional windows? And if you're managing stuff yourself, you have to understand what is important to people in your building or in your single family homes that they're going to select you over the others to start. That's the key. It's to get them in the door. Or, more to Al's point, is to put out compelling content, advertising, so that they'll at least give you a chance to answer the phone and to give them a tour. So, virtual tours is a big thing. Slate House has started, I think you started just now, the policy where basically as owners, we'll just go in and video a unit as soon as it basically becomes available and it's like clean, you know, maybe we're still doing a couple things to it, but so someone new could get the ID and we actually, as owners or managers, will narrate it, and people think that's super cool.
Yeah,
Whereas
one thing I'll even add that's kind of been interesting is even with occupied units, we are, you know, you'd think like occupied unit during COVID, you can't be like, let's say someone gives notice, right? Let's say they give notice that June 1st, they're moving out. When we first started in this COVID stuff in March, our kind of gut reaction was, okay, well, you can't post that for rent. But what we're finding is actually, let's just say you have a vacant unit, someone gives notice, but let's say you don't have any pictures, you don't have video. We found that even just asking the tenant, hey, rather than tramping through the place, do you mind taking a video, taking pictures, and putting it up online? It actually turns out that everybody wants to do that, right? Because nobody wants extra people tramping through their house. So we've had a lot of success in actually getting the current tenant to even do a walkthrough and even narrate their own unit. And I know a lot of you are into staging units. I know it's a little bit unconventional to kind of show a unit that has somebody in it, but there's a huge win actually, and that is the unit's already staged. Right now, obviously it depends on who that tenant is and how messy they are, and is the staging what you want or not. But we've actually had a ton of success of leasing things out where basically our team is never in there at all. Maybe it's a unit we've never been in, and the tenant, the current tenant, takes a video and does the walkthrough and does actually a really good job of selling the thing for us, sends us the video, we put it up online. New tenant sees it, says, look, I need a place to move into, you know, I'll take this. And then what we usually do is at move-in, there's some clause in the lease that just says, look, we'll kind of put anything on the move-in sheet that is maybe messed up or whatever, since the tenant has not actually seen the unit yet until potentially actually move-in day. So just kind of a unique little idea that actually even current tenants can show. And I'll tell you, one of my pet peeves is when someone gives notice, you know, and they're moving out 1 or 2 months out, like our general philosophy is we're not waiting until they move out to get the unit marketed. And it's interesting, even our private managers, who I think do a phenomenal job, you know, sometimes you got to kind of push them along because maybe they don't want to have to deal with maybe showing a unit with someone in there. And I say, look, I'd rather you not go in the unit at all, but at least have it up there, and let's start getting some interest, because I'm telling you right now, supply is at a incredibly low point. So even though demand's a little bit lower, you know, if you get something up there marketed and it's marketed at the right price and you've got a good video, maybe even a digital lockbox to show it, these units are renting really fast. Nate actually said, the other co-founder of Slate House today, he walked in and said, you know, if this thing continues much longer, there's actually a new problem that people haven't even thought about yet, which is there aren't going to be any vacant units for people to move into, which is just a crazy phenomenon that I don't think anyone could have ever anticipated previous to this. So,
Hey, can I say something to that?
Yeah.
It's hard to add to it, but one thing I just want to underline to myself and to everybody is that at this point in time, anything is appropriate. You can ask anything right now. All the previous norms, the pre-CV19 norms, just drop them and start imagining, because people will entertain it.
Yeah.
Things that they would never do before. We would never wear a mask to the bank before. You know?
Well, Phil might have worn a mask to the bank, but
so there's some.
It would be an improvement, right?
we don't know the boundaries of the new norms right now. So ask everything and anything, and see if you get a no.
I want to throw a topic by both of you guys to get your feedback, and also feedback from the group on the group chat. One thing we're considering doing, as a general rule, we do not like cash for keys as a concept. This would be a tenant who hasn't paid rent in a couple months. Typically, they're in the eviction process. We're moving through it. Right now, though, obviously, the eviction process is slowed down or halted or stopped in most areas across America, potentially for a while, right? I want to ask both of you your thoughts on being willing to give someone cash for keys to occupy a unit, given, and specifically given today's COVID-19, low supply of vacant units. What are your thoughts on kind of cash for keys right now? Al, maybe we'll start with you.
Let me start with me. So I don't have any evictions. I haven't had an eviction in like 8 years, but I would do cash for.
That's not fair. Why you guys start like that? Why can't you just answer the question?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not really qualified to talk about current situations, but I would do cash for keys in a heartbeat, just to make it just reduce the friction and less damage to your unit, and just to get it moving along. I've learned, I've came to that conclusion after 24 years of landlording. I realized that a fast divorce is best. Just pay him to go.
Phil, I know you've had a couple evictions in your career, evicting tenants, not being evicted. What are your thoughts on
Thanks
cash
for
for
clarifying, buddy.
keys? Cash for keys? I think we may even talked about this a little bit today. What are your thoughts overall?
It depends on what class you're in. I think for mine, it's not going to make financial sense. Something that we did discuss on our call earlier, that we were kind of kicking around, is if people are overtly using the COVID legislation, abusing, I should say. If we can't evict them, that's cool. I would probably spend that money on a collection company and report their credit as 30 days and 60 days and 90 days back, and then absolutely throw the book at them when it does come time to go to court, and let them know that's exactly what I'm doing. Be like, that's cool. You're going to get about 3 months, and then you're going to be moving in with mom. And
Phil, just talk a little bit about what concerns you about doing cash for keys on your stuff.
I just don't think the dollars and cents are there. If you're at $1,000 a month for a rental, and that's, about average for our stuff, or 800 maybe is closer to average, because we got a couple buildings that are like low. We're going to be out, say 90 days, $2,400. What's the right price? If we pay them $1,000, does that even move them? I don't know. I've never done it. I will pivot though, and let you guys know of a situation where cash for keys is not only advised, but it's essential. If you're doing a big reposition, we had a 12-plex that we picked up for like $500,000, and we were going to put like $250 into it to do the works: roof, siding, windows, decking, whole interior units, replumb the thing from poly to PEX, like everything. And I got outvoted within my partnership to buy the people out. We had 4 tenants that decided to stay at their super low rents because, we decided not to buy them out as a partnership. And because of that, the renovation took about another 90 days. Our in-place rents were $700, $750. Our pro forma rents now are $1,100 and a $50 water fee. So how much money did we lose over those, I think it was about 4 months.
Yeah.
But
Almost 2 months of rent. I think one thing that's important about cash for keys is how much you pay is a sliding scale,
mm-hmm.
right? And it's somewhat dependent on what that opportunity cost of moving someone out is. And I actually think we can probably start at even $500. I think even $500 to some people is meaningful. Again, not to everybody. Cool.
If I had the need to do it, then I would figure it out. And I alluded to one of my buildings that's actually in Richmond. It's pretty low. It's one of the least expensive buildings in Richmond, and it was being operated very poorly, very unethically by the former owner. So we're in there and actually making sure that everything works and it's, safe as far as structurally and, lighting and security and all that. At that point, maybe it would make sense to pay them, and it would be a significant amount of money to someone like that's living in sort of your bottom quartile of housing, that's not subsidized. But the stuff that's more solid C, I haven't had the need. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I haven't had it.
Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about how you guys have been able to stay away from kind of separate yourself from doing all the nitty gritty. And maybe Phil, we'll start with you on this one. Is you own a bunch of different properties. How have you been able to scale while, obviously not doubling and tripling your own time that you have available?
So delegation of labor is hugely important. And before you even get into that discussion, you have to understand what you do well, what your unique value proposition within a team is. So the majority of my portfolio is owned in small joint ventures. And then at a certain point, I ran out of money to invest in more joint ventures. So we had to go the syndication route. And if you go to larger buildings, generally, you're going to be pooling money. That's more of a formal syndication. But, I'm not terribly good at the property management, the dealing with all the banks and all of the, paperwork flying back and forth between attorneys and all that, the minutia, I guess I should say. I'm pretty good at going in and talking to sellers directly, talking to brokers, finding creative win-wins and being able to, secure deals for my group. But, I've got someone on my team who's, a commercial broker. I've got someone who is on my team, and I'm talking across a few teams here, by the way, who's an attorney. I've got a CPA. I've got a Class A contractor. I've got a couple property managers. So I pad, my teams out with folks that are really, really best in class at stuff that I'm lousy at. And so then once my phase of the transaction is done, I show up for a partner meeting every couple of weeks. I look at the docs and appfolio. I tour once a month, every couple of weeks, whatever, it depends on a phase of construction and exactly what's going on with the various projects. But then I can go hunt again, but if you're the person that's, more analytical and you're into the spreadsheets, you're going to be working on a given project. Maybe it's a couple hours a day, but you could be doing, 20 projects if that was your phase of the business or the financing. So it's about having a great team. That would be, my one piece of advice. Is
Al, any thoughts there on how you've been able to scale up a short-term housing business without going crazy?
Well, I went crazy for a while. So my scale was going from traditional landlording to furnished rentals, and then trying to upgrade my clientele from there. So as we're finding right now, we're glad that we have plenty of blue collar traveling healthcare professionals, things that they can afford to kind of weather the storm. So we're liking that. As far as we have 28 furnished rentals right now, and we're switching our scale. We're switching, turning that income into purchases of distressed buildings. So I'm switching how I scale. Is some of it's not so always master lease, but trying to get more ownership. So I'm doing a couple things right now, more than just adding on. But I like what Phil said. You want to stay in your genius zone. That was a hard-fought lesson for me to learn that. That's the best. I'm not the best bookkeeper, believe it or not, Chad. And it just squashes my creativity to have to do that type of thing. So it's more, it pulls me back in the box. And that's what I don't like.
Al, are you working with any VAs to help you out?
I work with
one.
Talk
about that and how that helps you.
Okay, so the thing I learned about a VA is that if you're not getting the most out of them, it's because of look in the mirror. you gotta have a checklist for them. That's the best technology checklist, and you got to review their work. So I'm learning that. So I had one for about 3 years, and she's good at doing repetitive stuff, but if I need more thinking, I gotta add another VA that has more executive type of thing. So, but she does the day-to-day grind and puts out the scorecard so that all I have to do is look at my scorecard, and it's color coded. So if everything's green, that means there's nothing for me to do. There's no vacancies. If things are yellow, that means something's coming up and we don't have a replacement tenant to move in. Again, our stays are about 4 months. Our typical stays length is 4 months. So
Al, can you just go a little more? I know you told me before about your scorecard. Is that a daily scorecard? Is that
yeah,
weekly?
daily email. It's an automated. It's just a Excel spreadsheet that does a date calculation. It subtracts the current date from the date the lease is up. So it's a countdown, and as it counts down, it triggers different marketing activities and reminds my VA to think we should think about reducing our rents. We should think about expanding our funnel, doing some more things to make sure that we don't have a vacancy. So we consider vacancy a failure. So we should never be vacancy. We know it's going to be empty in 4 months. So let's get a replacement tenant in place. We got plenty of time.
So and just so I understand, so you're getting it's like first thing in the morning, you're getting the scorecard, and if things look good, you're just out there playing in the park and watching Netflix? Is that kind of how you think about it?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm doing it wrong.
And Al, I want to before we want to Phil here, I want to just say really quick, Al, one thing I've taken from you, and maybe you're going to disagree with this, you spend more time than I think the average person of improving the portfolio you have, making it a little more profitable and also more systematizable. Whereas I think a lot of investors, and I am totally guilty of this, are more interested in kind of like buying the next property. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that statement? And maybe
I'm always trying to get 1% more out of my existing portfolio. My ultimate goal, just because of my contrarian kind of ornery, is I want to replace all my income from just one rental. I just want one rental that generates enough to keep me in the lifestyle I'm currently living. This is where I'm content, and I'm focused on other things besides the money piece of it. So because of that, that puts me in a position where I need to innovate to keep doing things, and that's right in line with my genius zone. I'm good when my back's up against the wall, and when things aren't going right, or when I need something. That's when I'm shine. If it's day-to-day things, then I'm not the best person for you. I'm only the best person when we're in the foxhole. So that's what I do. I don't expand much. I am working on a remodeling what's going to be an extended stay hotel. So that's a big project for me, and we're just knocking it down a little bit at a time. But yeah, I can't fill Phil's shoes at all. I don't have any of those big units.
Yeah,
it's 28.
Before I want to hear Phil's comments real quick on him working with VAs and also the scorecard concept. But Al, could you just give everybody just maybe the 30 seconds on how you're doing your hotel renovation and what that looks like?
Okay, so I have some properties I own, and then I have some I master lease as well, furnished rentals, some arbitrages, and I take the cash from the master lease properties, and I use it to renovate and to pay off this large commercial building, and also add on to it. So it's on a corner lot in a revitalized downtown area, just on the outskirts of Sacramento. So that's what it's like. Just take the cash flow from the master lease properties and use it to buy assets.
And so you bought a distressed hotel and are kind of renovating it, and then are going to turn it into. Is it gonna keep the extended stay brand, or are you gonna?
Yeah, it'll be furnished rental. It's not a hotel. It's 4 units residential and 5 commercial spaces. The commercial spaces will flip over to furnished rentals, and we're going to add onto the second floor finish off the second floor of the city block. So it's in a very good location. It's a long-term project, but once it's finished, it's one of those projects where they can retire retire your kids type of projects. So I don't need to go around doing a bunch of things. I just need to complete what I start here and do a good job on it. But yeah, furnished rentals, absolutely. Everything I do going forward will be a furnished rental. As you were pointing out, that's becoming more of a rental community, nation, and people like to relocate, just like it's going to be, my scenario is just rentals will be like Ubers. You just move in and everything's there, just like more like you see in Europe.
Phil, I'm interested to hear what you kind of established as your niche, and I'm also curious if you've had any experimenting with VAs along the way.
My niche as far as just asset type.
Yeah.
So as a guy that's not terribly good with the day-to-day, I do like large multifamily because it affords the scale to partner and employ with really great people. So I don't want to beat a dead horse with that. So most of my stuff is smaller multifamily, 12-plex up to like 64-plex. This 104 unit is the largest single building that I have, and I really like it. I'm actually living here while we reposition 50 or 60 of the units to make sure that we're being great stewards of our investor money. And then also, I'm sharpening my pencil on what it is that your team does, Chad. I'm trying to be better and to see some of the problems firsthand, like Al said, so I can start thinking about them. If I don't know they exist, then I can't, put my 2 cents in. But my niche is the bigger multifamily.
I wanna underline that for folks. The term house hacking has been around for a while. Usually that's somebody who goes and lives in a 2 or 3 unit. Phil is house hacking a 104 unit. Multi-unit complex. Literally, it's interesting. When we first walked this, you told me, I think this is the unit I'm going to move into. And when you said that, I laughed because I thought it was a joke. I was like, yeah, this is actually a really nice unit. I would totally live here. And then we talked like a month later, and you were like, you had your like kayak, and you had moved in, and I was like, what? You were serious. I gotta be honest, I can't think of another person I've ever met who's done that. But I am interested in, you're about 2 months in so far. How has the experience been?
It's been interesting. So Chad, I think you know me well enough to know that I don't do half measures. So I say some crazy stuff and like just pretty much plan on it happening. It's just, I don't know. I'm out there, man. I don't know. I'm an acquired taste. I'm too much for a lot of people, but yeah, I'm here. My little dog's here. He was pitching a fit earlier, but now he's good. We're digging it. We're on the water. So yeah, I went and bought a kayak the night we closed and a fishing rod. And I guess I'm a closet redneck because all I do is just go out and paddle around and fish and take pictures of bald eagles and egrets and stuff. That's my day.
Awesome.
But on the ops side, it's just, there's a lot you miss if your idea of property ownership is popping by once a month. It's not it. You're not going to see the plumbing that backs up in building 1 because they keep putting grease down the sink. And now that I went in there with the plumber, now I know that's them. It's not a systemic issue. That's good. We had all the waste lines cammed before we bought it. And I'm like, why are we having this issue? The issue is because everyone's home and they don't have anything better to do. Mm-hmm. And then, being up on the roof with the plumber, learn how to snake the lines from actually through the vent stack when you can't get access to it through, the actual fixture, landscaping stuff, inspecting what you expect across a lot of vendor trash service, the landscaping that didn't show up for weeks. The grass was up to my knee, like the weeds were. And we had an uncomfortable conversation. You wouldn't know that if you were just popping by once a month to take a look at your asset.
Yeah.
The tenants that are causing problems with other tenants, lease that come out that we're like friends now. Like the first couple of weeks, I'm like, guys, I shouldn't know you by your names. This isn't cool. Why are you at my place so much? I don't like this. They're like, well, we need your help with this one, and we'll be cool. And there we go. We've gotten rid of a couple of them already.
And Phil, just to be clear, I think you were telling me you introduced yourself as an employee of the complex. I assume you do that because it's just being the owner would be just too difficult to.
Well, it could go a couple of different ways. Some people might want to like kiss up to you, but then other people are going to badger you and expect special treatment. So my one D class asset in Richmond, I was, doing a Facebook Live or doing some filming up there, and this one guy's like, "Hey man," I was like, "Hang on a second," because I was like, like finishing up my live. I come back, I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "You the owner?" I was like, "Do I look like the owner?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, that's right."
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I work for the owner, which is true. I have a lot of investors.
I love
work
that.
for the owner.
All right.
I'm just a normal kayaking dude.
I want to ask one more question, then we'll kind of wrap this up. And for each of you, I want, look, we're trying to provide value, make this as actionable as possible, things people can actually take along to their own business. What is, I don't know, maybe something we haven't talked about yet, something that you've either done along the way or tried somewhere in the landlording space that you think is maybe a little different, a little unique. It could be something small, but maybe something that could be executed by other folks that is a little bit different. And Al, I know you've got like 30. But by the way, if people, what's your latest blog? You should tell them what your blog is.
It's called my blog name is leadinglandlord.com. Leadinglandlord.com. I'm always doing different experiments. I just let me segue off what you're saying, Chad. I just was trying to up the cleanliness and dealing with this virus thing. So I'm working on two projects. One is a portable air purifier so that you can take on the airplane with you, so you have your own virus-free air to. So I'm working on that project. And the other thing was getting serious about using a UV generator in between tenants. And as I started doing research on this UV generator, knowing I have a wastewater treatment background, so UV has been around for a long time. Or no, excuse me, ozone. Ozone's been around for a long time. And I started looking into the science of it and all the things it can do. So I've been nerding out on the fact that this $100 ozone generator can do so many things and save a landlord so much money. Everything from eliminating bed bugs to documenting or giving some evidence that the place was virus-free when someone moved in, to things to lower your reliability and reduce your cleaner's time on disinfecting things, because that is now expected. A big disinfectant step is expected as someone's turning over properties these days. So that's what that's my newest thing. Green Gobbler was what we talked a year ago. That was the latest technology, but this is something that's pretty powerful. Even pest control, because so this is a $100 device, pest control, bed bugs, disinfecting, lowering your cleaner's time, and giving you something to document that the place is virus-free when the tenant moved in. So it's absolutely on my top 10.
And Al, what's it called?
It's an ozone generator. Make sure it puts out 10,000 milligrams per hour, and you can use any one you want, but I have a list of them on my blog, leadinglandlord.com. But you can find them anywhere. Yeah, get one.
Can you just give the? I know I preloaded it before, but you gotta give the Green Goblet.
Green Gobbler, Home Depot.
Yeah, just real quick. Give the 30 seconds, then we'll jump to Phil because I like this.
Again, it's from my wastewater treatment background. We add chemicals at the plant to break up greases and dissolve hair. So instead of waiting for your sewage to get to the wastewater treatment plant, why don't you introduce the same type of chemicals that break up and they're biologically friendly right there at the clog. So Phil, that'd be the first thing I would want you to do before you get up on the roof vent, which is a clever idea, is to do a Green Gobbler treatment before you even take away, because every time you go under the sink, you break a pipe and have to go to the hardware store. And so before you uncouple anything, before you do any plunging or anything, absolutely do a shot of Green Gobbler before you add Drano or anything. That's your first move. And
And just
that
just
will
to be
resolve
clear,
most
you're
things.
not asking the tenant to drink the green goblet. This goes down the
Yeah.
drain, right?
No, oftentimes my tenants do it themselves if they have a hair buildup or something like that that got past the screen. This is biologically friendly and is safe, so they can do the treatment themselves.
And Al, if
So you
I
don't have
remember
to
this
get them.
right, you've got some system where it's like twice a year or something. You actually have someone, maybe even the tenant, actually just take it. It's like under the sink, and just
Yeah.
put a shot in. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like it's like preventative as well. Is that right?
Preventative, absolutely the best. So for $10, you can buy 3 packages of it. So just drop them off your tenant. Just tell them to, here, put this in your sink, put this in your shower, and that's it. Yep.
And there's a question from the group: is it hard on the drains?
No. Nope. Home Depot uses themselves as their go-to product. You can buy it right at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's $10. So it's actually an asset. It's going to save you a lot of time and break down that buildup. So do it before you have a clog is the best thing. And
Al, I'm
yeah.
surprised you don't try to charge the tenants $20 for this to make some money on it while you're at it. The way
Well,
you always had these crazy profit ideas.
No, it's saving me. It's saving me, so I'm getting it. Happier tenant too. So since I do short-term rentals, every time I do, part of my turnover process is to add this stuff to the especially the tubs where you have most hair buildup.
It's awesome. Phil, I want to jump to you. Same question. Something that's kind of easily executable by the audience that you've done along the way that has led you to some more success.
At risk of sounding way too rudimentary, answer the phones or make sure your people are answering the phones. If I'm assuming that you're priced relatively competitively and that your product is relatively competitive as far as finishes, cleanliness, location. If everything else is same, the one that's going to get that lease is the one that answers the phone, is friendly, and works to get them to see the unit. And it boggles my mind how many property managers, Chad knows some other ones that I've worked with in the past down here in my market. It's like you call to tour the unit or do something and you can't even get someone to work with you. That is the most important thing you can do. You get leads in the top of the funnel, and when they actually want something from you, you got to deliver. And you got to deliver first because they probably called 5 properties. You get them in to see a property and you'll get the lease.
I'm going to give a quick plug here to just using virtual assistants. I think if there's one thing that's changed our business in the last 12 months, it's been the input of virtual assistants. Ours come from Mexico, and but I think that where they hail from doesn't really matter. And I just if maybe this is my one takeaway for the group here. There's been some good stuff. I think one of your goals for the next 12 months should be, can you bring on a part-time VA to help your business? And somewhere on your goal list for 2020, that should be on it. It has changed our entire business. We now have, I think, 15. I'm not saying you need 15, but the reason this came to mind was first off, our retention has been better with that group than it would be with entry-level Americans. And that's, by the way, that's something for or against. Number 2, our output of work has been actually higher quality. And that's not necessarily saying that they're better or worse. It's just saying, I think, look, a happier employee produces better work. But then number 3 is, look, just being honest, by a lower price point doesn't just mean saving money. It also means that you can do things you couldn't have done before. So we took what was before probably 2 or 3 receptionists and turned that into 4 or 5, right? And by the way, still actually lowered our cost basis. And then not just that, but those folks are willing to work on weekends, or willing to work nights, or willing to work American holidays where we didn't have coverage before. So long story short, we were just getting badgered a couple of years ago of, I can't get a hold of Slate House. And that has just plunged to something we never really hear. And I think that has been a game changer for us. And now we've started to move down the mindset of, And again, I realize this is, there's some people who are very hire America, and so it's a bit contentious, but from our perspective, it's, look, we want Americans doing awesome, challenging intellectual work, but what else can we do to bring on folks that can do skills and tasks that maybe even at a better rate than we're being done here? And one by one, we've seen the work quality has gotten better. And that's been the biggest thing. When we started this kind of VA thing, everyone thought in our company that a VA would output work at a lower level. That's just the reality. That just, so everyone knows, that's what we faced on our team. Our leaders, our entry level, everyone had a negative connotation with that. And I think we've been able to fight through that to say, no, this is just in our case, it's our Slate House Mexico office. And we have an office there, just like we have office. They actually all congregate at the same place when it's not COVID-19 going on. And they love the company. We go there with one of our leaders every few months to check in. It's just been a game changer for us. So I would challenge you all to think in 2020, can you bring on a part-time VA in some way, shape, or form? I think it's a game changer. It's been talked about a few times here, and I think it could change your business. So cool. Well, look, I'm going to wrap this up. Guys, this has been awesome. I think everyone got a ton out of this. I knew they would. Could you just give folks maybe a way to get in touch with you if they want to learn more about short-term housing, if they want to learn more about syndications? Each of you kind of handle very different things. So maybe just kind of, what's the best way to reach you guys?
Yeah, for me, you can check me out, my blog, which is leadinglandlord.com. There's always a bunch of experiments to help landlords increase their income by finding ways to lower their expenses or find a new income stream. And I do a lot of coaching and training for people interested in this extended stay version of Airbnb. And you can find that at extendedstaylandlord.com.
That's awesome. Thanks, Al. Phil,
what's your... Fully spelled out there, Al, because we're doing our first extended stay building. So I'm definitely going to be checking out.
Yeah.
Extended stay.
Extendedstaylandlord.com.
Boom.
One word. Yep.
Got it. So I don't do like a ton of this. I mentor, multifamily investors through a gentleman named Michael Blanc. He's got a podcast. He's based out of Northern Virginia, does some big events all around the country. So, you can check out some podcast interviews I've done with him and, some of the other multifamily guys. Bigger Pockets might be the best way to connect with me. So if you shoot me a message on BP after friending me there and let me know that you're on Chad's call, I'll send you a Calendly link. And if you want to dive into something further, multifamily, let's hop on a jam for, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And, if I can be of service, definitely happy to do so. I wrote a book. So if you're trying to do me any favors, I don't know if you want to or not. But I was in the Navy, a special ops in the Navy. So I wrote this book that you probably can't see because of my background. Let me turn off the background and see if I can get it. Or
even better, can someone put that, why don't we throw it in the notes here of the Zoom?
Bam.
Oh, you did it. Okay.
Yeah. It's your VA loan. So the Veterans Administration loan and how it can make you a millionaire. I've got a soft spot helping out, my brothers and sisters that served, trying to get them started with their VA loan, which is a 0 down option to get their first primary residence and kind of get the ball rolling from there. So if you'd pick that up, write me a review on Amazon. I'd greatly appreciate it. One of my goals this year is to be the #1 book in the space.
Hey, just a quick plug for Phil's book there, I think. Look, one of my kind of pet peeves is people give really bad gifts. And if you've got a friend or significant other or family member or anyone who is in the military or was in the military, what a killer gift that would be, your VA loan. But Phil, I imagine that would apply to people who are out of the military now too, right?
Yeah. So there's certain rules, whether you have eligibility or not, but pretty much if you've served, recently, you're in there unless you got like a dishonorable discharge or something like that.
What an awesome gift to give someone instead of giving them a new shirt by J. Crew, or I don't even know what people give for gifts anymore. But That's a bad. I guess J. Crew was out of business, so you're probably giving that. What do you give now? Now you give a Walmart T-shirt or I don't know, whatever you clothing. I hate clothing gifts. I hate bad gifts that don't make people any money. Change someone's life. Give an awesome book. That's awesome. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. Really great stuff. And we'll be doing this every 2 weeks. We'll actually have the same URL starting next time. So it'll be the same kind of custom URL all the time. We're trying to get social, get techie here. Thanks for joining. Shoot me a note if you want to talk more, have feedback on this. And yeah, look forward to seeing you guys all soon. And a video of this will be in the YouTube channel here, hopefully by tomorrow, in case there's anything you wanted to rewatch. So thanks so much, guys. And Phil, Al, thanks a lot for joining. Stay safe, guys, and please stay busy. Keep buying houses. It's a good time. See ya. All right, gentlemen. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. This is so much fun. Thanks for the
Cool.
opportunity, brother. I guess I need someplace where people can reach me. Who knew?
Yeah, you're a celebrity now. So you're a I'm gonna start calling you the multifamily house hacking expert.
Apartment hacker.
Hey, Chad. Our current president is a house hacker, just like Phil. The Trump Tower is a house hack.
Wait, did he? I guess he lived there for a while. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just like
All right,
Phil.
so I've got something
Oh
to
man,
live up to.
you're bringing wisdom. That's definitely Facebook worthy. What do Phil Capron and Donald Trump have together?
That's it.
They both house hacked.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Phil, let me see your place.
Yeah, I guess. Phil, before we wrap here, can we do a little walkthrough?
I want to see that.
Of the leasing office, it's not in
Oh, I thought it was
great
your apartment, maybe.
No. I'm literally sitting in the leasing office. So.
Oh, forget it then. I don't want to see that.
Nothing super exciting. Sorry.
No.
Maybe on a future one when Chad comes to visit me, maybe we do like a Facebook Live or something.
Yeah.
Live on location.
Hey, wait for my portable UV air purifier before that happens.
Look, I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm a recovering flipper. It's been like 3 years since I flipped, and I hope that I can stay on the sobriety train of flipping because it's exhausting. But the ozone generator is such a valuable tool. You can go into something that's been, cat piss, dog piss, Marlboro Red, cowboy killers for years and years and years, and leave it in there for a couple days, and it actually smells like it can be habitable. Like the ozone gets in there and breaks down the stuff and like the HVAC and like. Yeah, it's a total game changer. So I'm glad you brought that up. And it kills the viruses.
Right.
It kills everything.
Anything organic. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Love it. And I'm going to buy tons of green gobbler right now. And because I'm here, I might go building to building, just put up the notices. Hey, we're doing a plumbing inspection because toilet flappers are a big thing. A lot of waste there, a lot of waste.
Yeah.
So I want to check on all those at least quarterly, biannually. So I'll just go in and, drop the green gobbler while I'm checking the toilet flappers. And over the next couple months, they'll all be serviced.
Absolutely. That's the way to go.
That doesn't seem like it requires a lot of talent. So it seems like I'd be qualified to do that.
It's a good use of your time too.
Why not?
Yeah.
Awesome,
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks for joining. This was super awesome. And we'll see you guys again next time.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys. See ya.
Thanks, Kylie, for making this happen. You're the best.